Hey VCers, it's Matt here on a Wednesday afternoon, and I wanted to check in, do a video, call it a housekeeping video because I got 3 or 4 topics to cover here. First of all, Robert Z, here you're a new grandfather here, so congratulations on that. I think it's your second grandchild, 2 boys, I believe. So that's great, and I hope your daughter and her husband are doing well, and hope many more grandkids coming your way. So that's a great thing. And actually, Mr. Z, wanted to do a request for you, something you asked me about last night. So we'll go ahead and get to that. You'd asked about this Cheap Trick box set. It's their first 5 albums. This came out, I had shown this on an older video, but I can't remember which one it was. It's a Record Store Day pickup from, I think, 2 years ago. Maybe it was Black Friday Record Store Day, I don't really remember. And I know it's in one of those videos where I showed my Record Store Day pickups, but instead of going back and trying to dig out which one it was, I thought I would just run through it for you. So, kind of show you what it is. You get the box. It's got their it's called the Classic Albums. You get the back cover. It's got the shrink wrap on it still, so there's probably some glare on there, but got the albums, and it's numbered. I got number 1707. I don't know how many of these they made though, because it doesn't say. And so you get, I was always a big fan of Cheap Trick. Live at Budokan came out when I was in 9th grade, so that was a big album that year. You get their first album in color, their second, third one, Heaven Tonight, of course the classic Live at Budokan, and the Dream Police. This is, what was this, 1980 album? I think Dream Police came out in 79, I believe, and Budokan 79 and Dream Police in 1980, I think. I actually saw them in concert in 1980 at Will Rogers Coliseum, which is a small little concert hall, so I think it holds about 2,000–3,000 people, so it was a nice place to see a concert, and they put on a great show. Anyway, I've always loved Cheap Trick, especially those first 5 albums. Past that, they get a little bit sketchy. Their next album, what's that, All Shook Down, I think, is the one that George Martin produced. I'd like to pick up that someday because I think that one's alright, but past that, they're not. They had that big hit with the song The Flame, I Will Be the Flame, in the 80s. Never was a fan of that song. And some of their later albums, I guess they still make albums, but Little Steven's Underground Garage radio station on XM, one of the stations that I listen to all the time, they'll play their newer stuff, or I don't know if they had anything new lately, but over the past few years, their newer stuff, and they'll play songs off of that. And it's okay, but it's not really as good as their older stuff, in my opinion. They also did an album where they covered Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, covered the whole album. Never heard that, but they do cover Magical Mystery Tour, and I think that might be on that album as just a tack on, even though that's not on Sgt. Pepper. They play that on the radio every once in a while, and it's an okay version. It's not as good as the Beatles, but, you know. So that's, in my opinion, pretty much all you need to have. I might get the one George Martin produced somewhere down the road. And I don't know, Bobby, maybe you remember this. Back around 1980 or so, the record industry toyed with these little 10-inch albums. They weren't really EPs, but they were just little 10-inch albums. Didn't go anywhere, and they dropped the format pretty quick. But there was a movie called Roadie that Cheap Trick and Blondie and some others did songs for. The movie had Meatloaf in it, kind of a goofy movie, but it was fun. It came out in 1980, and Cheap Trick did a version of Day Tripper. I don't remember if that was in the movie or not. It was a pretty good cover, and they did a song called Everything Works If You Let It that was in the movie, which is a really neat song, but I need to pick up that little 10-inch. I still see it around every once in a while. So there's the Cheap Trick box set. Don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was in the, I want to say $70 to $100 range. But it was a Record Store Day thing, but I have seen them around. I think they're still out there and not that hard to find if you're looking for one. You also mentioned a Fleetwood Mac box set coming out. That's all of their earlier albums, not the stuff like Rumors and Tusk, but the early albums with Peter Green, I guess, with the first one that has the trash cans on the cover, and the one that has the bear trees, and I'm not sure what all's in it. There's the one that has the lion looking thing on the cover. I guess that's what you're talking about. And I've never really heard too much of that stuff, so might be interesting. But I hadn't heard about that, but I'll kind of keep a lookout for it. So there's that. And again, congratulations on your new grandchild. I think it's a son, so I'll just say grandchild. Get him or her started on good music early on. Don't want him to grow up to be a Bieber or a Katy Perry fan there, so I know that he or she will be in good hands with you. Bobby Gass wanted to say hi and compliment you there on answering my challenge video. You made 2 videos so far. You're going to make some more. The challenge video is where I ask people to name their I don't know, 5 or so favorite artists from each decade, from the 1920s up until this decade, the 20 teens. And so Bobby Gass started off with one. He started in this decade and went backwards to the 60s. Did a really great job on that. Had some interesting choices. A lot of stuff I really liked. Some of my favorites are in there. And then he did one just on the 50s. Just an incredible video. Great choices, and he plays some music selections from each of the choices, and I really love that video. I've watched it a couple of times now, and that's one of them that I'm going to probably go back to and just watch for the music pretty often, because it's a great job and it's great choices. So just over and above job there, Mr. Gass, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Several other people, Adam Lee, and I should have written down because I don't remember who all. I don't know, Bobby Z, did you do one yet? I think you did. I have to double check. But Adam Lee, a guy named Jorgen S., who I just heard about and subscribed to, he did a really good one. He likes jazz stuff, so he had a lot of really good jazz picks from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and all. So hope to see some more people do that. And again, if you don't know music from the 20s or the 40s or the 50s or whatever, you can start in whatever decade you want. I just said I'd like to see people go from the 20s to this decade, but if you don't know stuff from way back when, you can start in the 60s or the 70s or whatever, and you can pick as many as you want. I mean, I think I originally said pick your top 3 to 5, but it's funny because Bobby Gass in his 50s video said, here's my 4 favorite artists from the 50s, and then he proceeded to show like 25 people. So that's cool because it's really good choices and great music. And so I don't really care how many you pick, but so do that if you want to do that, and I would hope so. There's also my song beginning, your favorite beginnings of song contest is still ongoing, and that ends on the last day of August, which is what, 3-4 days away now. So 8 people have entered that I know. I'll do an update video here probably later tonight or tomorrow just to read off the names in case someone entered that I don't know about, so they can contact me and let me know. But 8 people have entered, so if you enter, you got a pretty good chance of winning the prize. So get in on that if you want. Still got some time. Funerals. I wanted to ask you all about funerals, cheery subject, but here in Texas, I've got the Facebook. I don't know, do y'all have the Facebook out there in the rest of the world? I think you do, but anyway, on the Facebook, they got a page that's Remember Fort Worth When, or Fort Worth Back in the Old Days. It's called something like that, and it's just about, I think they have that for pretty much every city in America and around the world, but it's basically whatever city you're in, and it's people that live there, grew up there, and they get on and they talk about, old history of the city, restaurants and movie theaters and stuff that used to be around that are no longer around, and legends and lore and et cetera, of the city. So this one's for Fort Worth, where I grew up, and a woman got on there yesterday, or day before actually, and she was asking about funeral processions, and she noticed that sadly a lot of people don't pull over for funeral processions anymore, she's noticed. So, and I don't know if that's a thing that's just I think it seems like I'd heard, well, what it is you got a funeral, so they have the funeral at the church or the funeral home, then they take the dead guy to the cemetery to bury him, and so the people get in the hearse and the limos, and then the friends and so forth of the guy follow the hearse and the limo in their cars, and they drive down the roads to the cemetery, and they have their lights on while they're driving down there. And so if they're coming this way and you're driving this way and you see the procession of cars with the lights on, the funeral procession, in Texas, we pull over on the side of the road and we stay there until the whole procession passes, and then we go on. A lot of people even get out of their cars. If someone's wearing a hat, they'll take their hat off. Not everyone gets out of their cars, but the practice, and it's just sort of a sign of respect. You don't 99% of the time you don't know whose funeral it is. It's just a sign of respect. You pull over to the road until the procession passes, and it seems like somewhere way back there that I had heard that people don't do that in other parts of the United States, that's just sort of a Texas or maybe a southern state thing. So I was just kind of curious to know anybody that's living in other parts of the United States that's on the East Coast, West Coast, up north, people in Canada or England on the VC here, we have any VC members on, Easter Island or wherever, anywhere else. Is that something that you've ever heard of or that you all do? It's just kind of curious. So check in and let me know on that. So, okay, moving on, the last part of the video here. The other day I talked about a Paul McCartney album that I got, a double album called All the Best, or All My Best, that I picked up at Doc's Records on Saturday, I believe it was. And I mentioned that it's not a good idea to go to Doc's or to Record Town, because when I do, I spend money. So had day off work. I'm actually off work this week. Was out running around. I found myself in that side of town. So what do? I pull into Doc's. Stupid move, but I walked out with an armload of goodies. So thought I would just show those, and we will. Let's just go through them. This one that I had many years ago and sold or elsewise divested myself of, so nice to have another copy of this. This is, of course, Walls and Bridges, John Lennon's album from 1974, right? And I remember this as being a good album. It's got Number 9 Dream, which is one of my favorite of his solo songs. And what's the other one that I really like on this? Whatever Gets You Through the Night's pretty good, but there's one that I really like on this, and What You Got, I like that. It's kind of a funky sounding song and a little bit different for him, and I like that one a lot. So Walls and Bridges, glad to have that again. I'm trying to go from save the really good stuff for last here. Alright, we'll go with we can go with these. So I'm continuing my Kinks review series. Had some holes to plug in. Went ahead and got this. This is Misfits. The other day I picked up Sleepwalker, which is the album that I'm up to now, which I haven't had a chance to listen to, so that'll be my next review. Misfits is the Kinks album that came out after Sleepwalker. This is a 1978 album. Haven't heard this, and it doesn't have the song listing on the back, so I don't remember what's on it, but I think I've heard a couple of songs off of this, I believe, but I'll have to look at the label. So we'll see. So that'll be an upcoming Kinks review. Here's another one that I used to have, and this will be another Kinks review a few albums down the road. Give the People What They Want, which is their 1981 album. So I used to have that, and I picked a copy of that up to fill in a hole. Here's a Kinks album I never had, and it's one of the later ones that saw it, and I went ahead and picked it up. It's Think Visual, which I believe is their one after Word of Mouth. So it's from the 80s, I think. They had, after Word of Mouth, they had this, UK Jive, To the Bone, and something else, and I don't remember the order of them. I'll have to look, but I think this is from about 1986 or so, if I'm not mistaken. And 1986 and 7 is what it says here, so it's from one of those years. And it came with this little promo record. It's kind of neat. I'd never seen before, and it's on I don't know if you can see that. Is that upside down or sideways? But it's on a white promo label. A song called Lost and Found. No idea what that is. I've never heard it, and I've never heard this album. So, Word of Mouth from 1985 was the last Kinks album I ever bought, and I heard a couple of those later ones on when they did TV appearances. But I didn't think they were that good, but we'll see when I listen to the whole album. So, hold on, we're not done yet. Keeping in the Kinks, keeping with the Kinks. Here's the insert, and I don't know if you can be able to see that because of the light. This is one I've wanted for years, and it's one that I talked about on my reviews, but I didn't have it, so I couldn't review it. I'll be doing a review of it. I'm moving in chronological order, so I'll go back and pick this up after I do all of their albums. But it's on the Reprise label, and this is after they'd already left Reprise and were on RCA, but Reprise put out a couple of albums to sort of show up the RCA albums, I guess. One of them was the Kinks Chronicles, one of the best greatest hits albums ever compiled. And I did a review of that. But here it is, the Great Lost Kinks album, which has a really odd and sort of goofy cover there. But and there is the back cover, which is Ray Davies in need of a haircut. So, and these are songs from the Village Green Preservation Society, kind of the 1967 to 1968 era that just never showed up on albums. So I was listening to this today, actually played it a couple of times. It's very good, but I'll be doing a review on that after I do all the other Kinks albums. I would have done it in order, but I didn't have it at the time. So here's another one that I have wanted to get for years and decades and never have. Question, what's the first Beatles solo album? Wonderwall, you all say? That's one of my favorite George albums. That's my second favorite George album, and I do need a copy of that because I don't have one anymore. But no, it's actually not Wonderwall. It's The Family Way, with music by Paul McCartney and a movie starring Hayley Mills. Very fetching Hayley Mills, I might add. So, and George Martin produced album. This has, I haven't played it yet, but I believe this actually has the same song or theme song just like 10 times, and it's from a movie from 1967, I believe. It's mono, and I don't know how much I don't think Paul McCartney actually plays on this thing. I don't think he probably had too much to do with it. I think he just wanted to do something highbrow and produce a piece of classical music for a film soundtrack, and he probably pretty much just stood around while George Martin did all the heavy lifting, I'm betting. But they used to show this movie on TV all the time when I was a kid, on like Dialing for Dollars on the afternoon movie, and I really liked it, and I haven't seen it in years. This came out on video, on DVD, a few years ago, but it got pulled again, and it's no longer available. I wish I would have bought it because I really like this movie, and I've kind of had a crush on Hayley Mills since I was a little kid. I remember watching this thing back when I was 7, 8 years old, but just hadn't been on TV for a long time. And anyway, so it's a fun movie, and it's cool to have. And here is the inners on London Records. You got the inner sleeve advertising some other albums. You got a bunch of Rolling Stones albums. You got Moody Blues, Them, Van Morrison and Them. There's Marianne Faithfull, some James Bond soundtracks. Here we got popular music from Poland. Here we got Will Glaw and his orchestra with the big polka hits. I don't know if you can see that. The big polka hits. So, I don't know. Bobby Z, you got that on Mobile Fidelity? The big polka hits? Or the popular music from Poland on the MoFi there? So I'm gonna have to go back to the store there, this store, and see if they got these records. And here we got great TV themes, and I can't read the theme songs because it's too small to print. But you got a pair of sunglasses and a TV, and you got, I don't know if that's gonna show up. Got a girl lying there in a plaid bikini, which is pretty heady stuff there. I like that. So there we got Family Way and Kinks, Great Lost Kinks album, two things that I had long wanted and happy to finally have. So, last but not least, this is some, I think this band broke up and became the Yardbirds. I've never heard them, but saw this in there today. This is the 3-disc set with the 2 bonus discs and the remastered. So pick that up. And I used to have that, I don't anymore. This is one, I had all their albums, and this one, except for this one, I never got around to picking this one up back in the day for some reason. So I got this, and this is the one with the bonus disc too. First album is the regular album remastered, and the second album is alternate takes and a couple of unreleased tracks, I think. So I've never heard this other than Immigrant Song and Gallows Pole. I remember kids having this at school back when, in the day, kids would bring their records to school and Led Zeppelin was big. So I probably heard it somewhere back there, but I don't remember looking at these titles, and I know the titles, but I just don't know the songs. So this will, in essence, be my first listen to this album, so I'll report back and see what I think about it. They didn't have Led Zeppelin 2, unfortunately, or they didn't have the one with the bonus disc. They had the regular remastered, but I figured might as well get the bonus disc thing. So, congratulations, Bobby Z, on your new grandkid. Thanks, Bobby Gass, for making the great video. Love both of them, but the 50s one just pulled out all the stops and was a thing of beauty. Anybody, I would recommend you go watch that one. Just see a lot of great music and a great video response there. Make a video response, everyone else, to your top favorite singers and or bands of the decade. Do a video response to the contest with the song beginning. You win it's a really cool prize. And Cheap Trick box set. Hope that answered your questions there. Robert Z, let me know if you need any more information on that. Some new records. And I will be back. I'm going to do a response to my own favorites of the decades. I was writing down some notes last night and figuring that out, so I might do that later on today. And upcoming is another Kinks album review. I got to listen to the album first a few times because I haven't heard it. And I'm going to do a review on a Ringo album that I got. And somewhere down the road, I might review some of these albums. So